Here's how I would rank all of the live-action feature-length Superman movies. At 10, there's Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Not only a complete dud of a Superman film, but it also fails to deliver a satisfying conclusion for Christopher Reeve's Superman. At 9, there's Superman 3. Never fully takes off, and it does go overboard with the silliness and slapstick humor. Christopher Reeve continues to be great as this character, but the entire movie around him feels all wrong. At 8, there's Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I'm just really not a fan of Zack Snyder's take on these characters, and the movie itself is overlong, bloated, and almost devoid of anything enjoyable minus a few scenes. At 7, I have Man of Steel. I appreciate that this was an attempt to give Superman a full-on reboot, and I quite like Hans Zimmer's score as well as Michael Shannon as Zod. But there's just so much about this movie that I quite frankly despise. It's dark and gloomy, and that doesn't really feel like Superman to me. At 6, there's Superman Returns. Just kind of feels like the reheated leftovers of the Donner and Reeve films, while also failing to carve out an identity of its own. Brandon Routh is an okay Superman, and there are some cool set pieces, but this is a mostly boring and low-energy Superman entry. At 5, there's Superman and the Mole Men. It doesn't really feel like a movie, more so like an extra-long Twilight Zone episode that just so happens to feature Superman, and I kind of dig that. It is rather uneventful, and it is very cheesy, but it is worth watching to see George Reeves as Superman for the first time. At 4, there's Superman 2. While it doesn't quite reach the heights of its predecessor, it still is a lot of campy fun. I like that Superman faces more of a physical threat this time around in the form of Zod and his followers. At 3, there's Superman 1978, an iconic classic, no doubt, that set the standard for modern superhero movies. We have seen better movies in the genre since, but it still feels like pure movie magic, and Christopher Reeve soars as the titular hero. At 2, there's Superman 2: The Richard Donner Cut, a much tighter version of Superman 2 that also surpasses the original for me. It's bigger, it's better, and it's stronger in so many ways. And at number 1, I have Superman 2025. Although I have a few small issues with it as it jams a lot into its runtime, this is still my favorite Superman movie by a long shot. And those small issues are largely overshadowed by how this movie gets Superman right. This movie actually gave me hope and feels like a comic book came to life on the screen. The cast is perfect, especially David Cornsweet as Superman, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, and Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Plus, James Gunn maintains the humanity and the kindness this character is supposed to represent while also delivering a movie that made some bold choices.